Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael Daly back at you guys and girls with the Real 1%, where we talk to all people in the military community that transitioned one day from active duty, reserve, National Guard into the civilian life. So today we have Justin, who is the former Air Force Weapons System Officer or pilot. He's he also is an Air Liaison Officer in the Air Guard, and he's a founder of a software company designed to help other online coaches, consultants, and course creators. Justin's goal is to help 100 business owners with this new software within the next year. Pretty aggressive goal. It's great. He is passionate about helping others and believes that his software can make a real difference in people's lives. He has two combat deployments. We'll have to ask him about this best mission in a bit. And he also has the personal development. He is a personal development enthusiast and has a brand called Not Another Average Joe. So without further ado, Justin, how you doing today?
Hey, Michael. Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. Thanks for joining. So I got to ask you did tell me that you were in ROTC through college. Is that something that you thought about doing since you were a young boy, joining the military and flying, or was it something that just came about as you got older?
Yeah, so I was really influenced by September 11th. I think a lot of people, my age were, and that happened when I was in like middle school. And so I did Army Junior RTC in high school and kind of got, had some mentors and stuff that were like, hey, you should go the RTC route in college, get your degree. And that's kind of, how I got started. I actually didn't have like a strong military family history background or anything like that prior to joining. So
what college did you end up going to?
So I went to NC State. So did that.
Wolfpack.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Go Pack. Yeah. And so I did that aerospace engineering there, took the 5th year. I remember showing up the first day and they were like, asking everyone what their major was. They said, oh, aerospace engineering. They're like, we're just going to put you down for 5 years. I was like, oh, does it really take 5 years? It does. So,
damn.
But it was cool. And then I actually wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Like when I first joined, I kind of unique in terms of like joining the Air Force. I'd never flown, like not even on a commercial plane.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, scholarship cadet, already, took the oath of enlistment technically into RTC or whatever, and never been on an airplane. And that was said I was either want to be an engineer or fly. And then I got a chance to fly in like the back of a tanker refueling F-15s. And I was like, I want to fly. So
let me ask you about that, because I'm sure is that competitive basis? Like, don't only the top percentage get into that field, or how's that go?
Yeah, so there's a couple different routes you could go. I was a backseater, so all that training takes place at Pensacola. And yeah, it's really competitive. There was 22 people in our class, and we had actually an unusually large number of people, but we had 4 people get Strike Eagles out of our class. Most classes had like 2 to 3 was kind of the average. So we got just a slightly better drop. But we had four of us from there, that got Strike Eagles. And then there's a number of trainings you go through after that to kind of get through fighter fundamentals and then onto the actual platform training itself. It's about a 2.5 year process to go from like brand new lieutenant to your first operational squadron.
Is a Strike Eagle, what does that mean?
Strike Eagle is the nickname given to the F-15E, the 2-seat version that does air-to-air and air-to-ground.
Okay. So when you were in flight school, like you said, you never flown commercially, never been on a plane. How is that like when you start doing all the G training? Obviously, you probably do it on the ground at first, like in the simulator or whatever. But even still, I mean, I'm not one for roller coasters, so I can only imagine. I as much as I would want how badass that is, I don't think I could do it. I don't know. That's just me. I get sick in the car, man. So coming from someone that went through it, how is that training and how is that like force for you?
Yeah. So you start out in like a trainer jet, it's not even a jet. It's a prop plane that's called the T6. And yeah, I mean, I actually did struggle with air sickness for a while. I remember my first, when you're in training, if you get airsick, they make you go see the flight doc just because they want to make sure like there's nothing going on that would prevent you, from not adapting or whatever. And
right.
So I went 3 times in a row, and the flight doc was like, "What do you want to fly?" And I was like, F-15s, and he was like, "Are you sure about that?" And I was like, yeah. And so, over the years, I kind of developed some techniques from other people that had struggled and overcame air sickness. But yeah, so it's definitely adapting to a new environment on top of, learning a whole bunch of new aircraft systems and knowledge. So.
Wow, dude, I don't know if I could adapt on that one, man. But I guess it's like the same thing the Navy people say about like growing sea legs. Like, dude, I think I'd just always be seasick, man. But you never know. What was the hardest part about schooling for you all those 2.5 years?
I, I don't know. I think, I definitely did struggle with air sickness. I'd always done well, like academically. So, that it was just the gaining like the airmanship. There's really no like replacement for, time in the seat flying, whether you do sims or ground training, like nothing replaces the experience that you have. I can look back at, now and say for sure, like I left active duty with 1,000 total hours, 400 combat hours kind of thing. So I can see like that, I finally felt, I will say I finally felt comfortable in the jet after, 4 years in my off squadron. So about 6.5 years total. I finally, felt like I was in a place where I wasn't the new guy, if you will, all the time. I was, a bit more senior and just felt, really comfortable around the aircraft and the mission sets that we kind of trained to. But obviously it's something that kind of changes all the time. So that's the biggest thing. It's just keeping up to date.
So what was your thoughts when you first started hearing about your first deployment?
We knew it was going to happen. So like at the time we were catching the tail end of OIR, Operation Inherent Resolves, like Iraq and Syria, counter ISIS type stuff. And so we were on kind of a rotation. Once it was like, there's always, at the time, there was always one Strike Eagle squadron deployed for 6 months at a time. It just cycled through the ones that were stateside. And then, so you knew kind of when it was coming up.
Yeah, you were already in the shoot. Like before you got back, and the next time you were already ready to go again. So what was like one of the craziest missions that you could talk about, you remember doing?
Yeah, so one of my coolest ones, actually, so my first deployment was 17-18. That was OAR, mostly Iraq and Syria. The second deployment, I have a pretty cool story. So second deployment was a little out of cycle, if you will. We got this was like 2019, right before I got out. We got activated on what used to be called the Global Response Force. So ironically, tensions were high with Iran, which is kind of happening again. And they had ordered an additional fighter squadron over to the Middle East to kind of plus up what was going on. So we got sent over on like short notice deployment. We showed up, and then within days, I don't remember the exact number of days of getting there, Iran shot the Navy drone down out in the international waters.
Yeah,
and so we got active. I mean, we were already there, but we got like tasked at that point to start flying like defensive counter air missions in the Strait of Hormuz there. So like I flew the first mission for our squadron that got like activated to go do that. And we were basically escorting the Navy ships as they're transiting back to the Strait, providing cover for them. So
that's pretty cool. I was actually in Dubai when that was going on. It's like, yeah, they shot the drone down and they were getting a little piracy over there, man. It's going a little crazy at first. So yeah. That's cool. Did you ever do like any joint ops, like flying with other countries? Did you guys fly with the UAE or something like that when you were over there doing that, or just by yourself?
Yeah, it was just us in the Navy. So it was like, yeah, never multinational in that sense, but yeah, joint like with the Navy.
Would you take off and land on an aircraft carrier or like on a flight line, like on
no,
ground?
We take off. Yeah, we just take off from a base there. We were in the UAE. Cool. Yeah, in the UAE. At Dhafra, the big Air Force base there. So.
That's because I remember that. Like it was like yesterday. But yeah, crazy times. What's something that you started thinking about like getting out of the military? Was it after your 2 deployments? Like what that plan in your mind kind of look like?
Yeah, so I was already starting to work on that like before we deployed the second time. So I actually I found out that I was approved to go into the Guard via a program called Palace Chase, which is essentially like you can trade active duty commitment for additional commitment into the Guard.
Okay.
So I found out that I got approved the same day I deployed, or this not the same day, but the same day I found out I was deploying.
Oh,
So it was kind of
really?
like it was kind of like an up and down. So I did that second deployment, came back, and then had just really a few months before I got out, like about 6 months before I got out. So it was very, felt very rushed, but at the same time I had been kind of prepping and mentally like ready to get out for a while.
How do you think your like overall transition out of the service was, like from going to the TAPS classes, or I'm not sure if they call that the same thing in the Air Force, but like going through all those classes and then just like transition out? Did you seem like that you struggled with something, or the process was fine, but you said it was kind of fast? So what was your take on that?
Yeah, at the time they were switching to like making folks do the TAPS class further out, which is good because I remember, like, I think you could schedule it like, I don't know, pretty close to your actual separation date, which now I think you have to do a year out, and it's useful, but at the same time, I mean, I remember getting a checklist from the person, and like nothing against the TAPS instructors, but this guy was like retired E8 or E9, and then went straight to this job, and I was like, well, what do you know about working in the civilian world?
That's
And
true.
we got a checklist, and it was like, it was a budget. It was like a spreadsheet of how to do your budget. And one of the line items was pager. And I was like, what year is this? They're like, this is 2020. We're
Pager.
giving out, like spreadsheets with pager budgets in it.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, it's and there's places I'm sure that have caught up and done better in the time. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a check the box type thing. But it gave me an opportunity to do like networking and additional kind of stuff on my own, in addition to just going to the classes.
Like, did you ever talk to like any people that were getting out before you, or did you see yourself as like kind of one of the people that were getting out first? Like, because it's hard, man. You're around people that are going to keep going to fly, or keep going to the DFAG, or keep going to the range, and like you're over here ready to go to the reserve, but that's probably not going to be your full-time gig. So at the same time, you're trying to make this transition. It's definitely hard to do it by yourself, and there are resources and stuff like out there, but it just depends on your mind state too. A lot of people might be like ready just to go and don't take full advantage of what's offered, or a lot of people say it's so much information in a little bit of time, or they talk about this, or even like you said, they have people that retired, whatever, but they never even did nothing in civil. That'd be like having someone teach on entrepreneurship but never had a business. How are you teaching out, but you never did it? You know the material. You're teaching the material that's on black and white, but you're not telling me from previous experience. You're not telling me the real world scenario. You know what I mean? Like you said, beeper. I mean, come on now. So, like, what did you do to try to, make sure you set yourself up for success after you saw like the shortcomings of the program? Or was it? I mean, you started 6 months out, so I guess you had a little bit of time to adjust. But like, what did you do for yourself? Did you just start figuring it out, like? What exactly you wanted to do, or how'd that go?
Yeah, I mean, I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, and I also took kind of advantage of the Skill Bridge program. So a lot of, there's some changes going on to that today, kind of across all the departments. But at the time, it was pretty easy for me to get a Skill Bridge. So I actually did a Skill Bridge internship for a nonprofit called Elite Meet, and the purpose of them is to help special ops and fighter pilots transition to the military. So I was helping them like on kind of like a staff role, but at the same time also, able to help my own kind of like networking and job search. So I did that for about 2 months, kind of full time. For those that don't know, just look up Skill Bridge. It's really a great thing if you can do that before you get out. I really encourage everyone to do it. But yeah, I think that definitely helped because it kind of allowed me the breathing room. Okay, I'm not day in, day out, like in the mindset of, being at the squadron. And like you said, I was definitely probably one of the earlier folks getting out, especially for the pilots. They have a longer commitment, the front seaters than the back seaters. So like they can't get out. And so, yeah, I mean, just kind of getting out of that environment definitely helped with the mindset piece of it. And then for me, I also knew like where I was going to live, that kind of thing. We had kind of that aspect figured out with my wife and family. So we knew like, okay, I'm going here, and then I'm kind of looking around the area / at the time remote, that kind of thing. So.
Okay. So I got a question to ask you about working with all the different fighter pilots in the special ops community. What's one thing that you seem to find out that like was there a majority of people struggle with the same thing, common denominator essentially, or was it a little bit of everything? Because you're coming from such a I mean, even anyone that's in the military that's charged with these big, run facilities or run operations at a young age, whether it's a pilot, whether it's a class 1, whether it's a SSA, like there's people that are, in leadership positions at 18, 19, 20 years old, you know what I mean? And I'm just curious to hear what your take is on like the community or even what you struggle with as being a pilot and coming off, although you're still in like National Guard, but was there something that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think it was just not really thinking about your post-military career while you're in. Because I really didn't up until about a year out, which
it's true.
You need to focus on your job when you're in, but everyone's going to get out eventually, right? Like whether you get out at 20 years or whether you get out after your first commitment's up, like everyone's going to get out eventually. And so I think breaking that like stigma of, you shouldn't have any plans. Like, okay, even if you do 20 years, you're still going to do something after that, right? Like you're not going to do nothing and just sit at home for the rest of your life. Hopefully you're not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I think people struggle with because a lot of folks either thought they were going to do this forever when they got in, or they didn't really think about it at the time, and then the issues are kind of 50-50 in terms of a lot of guys that were retiring kind of knew where they were going to go, but they didn't know what kind of job, and then the other folks that didn't know where they were going to go seemed like they knew the types of jobs. But then it was like, okay, what, where am I going to move based on the job I want? So those are kind of, unique challenges that I only kind of struggle with the one side of, I want to live here and then which job versus I know, I want to do this job and I'm willing to move to one of the locations that would have that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to pack everything up too and move across country or something like that. So all of that on top of getting out the military and like either waiting for it, like it's different. I guess you're right though. You got to like have a job like lined up before you get out. And even I did that at first, but it was like a travel job. So like that might not always work out if something happens in life. What if your parents get sick? What if you got a kid on the way? What if you know what I mean? Like life happens. So even if you have that plan A, like I got screwed and had to make several other adjustments and went through like a whole bunch of different jobs and stuff like that. And yeah, man, it's definitely tough because in the military, they make it easy for you just to get up and you go do your job to your bed, and you don't really. I think they're trying to catch on and stuff like that. I've talked to a couple other veterans that have like some contact with like the new commander, I guess, or like the new that's for Soldier for Life, and I think they're like trying to change the narrative and like put more effort into it now, but which is good. But like even when I went, I don't blame the TAPS program essentially, like because like there probably was like Boots to Business or like DoD Skill Bridge, and there are like Boeing has fellowships and all these they're out there, but it's just not talked about a PT formation.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's out there, but like you can't really if people are getting out. Like when you're in fight or flight, when you get out and you're worried about making ends meet, you're not thinking about the tennis camp they have in San Diego for disabled vets. You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah, no, that's 100%. So the two biggest networking things I found out about was the nonprofit that I worked with and SkillBridge, Elite Meat. Yep.
Yeah.
And both of those things I found out about from we have a Strike Eagle like Facebook group for everyone that's ever flown, and it was there's a couple of retired guys in there that do a really good job of like telling people about opportunities. And I remember the post he made. He was like, he literally said, "You won't hear about this at the squadron commander's call," and it's true. Like it's not talked about.
They're not worried about that. They're worried about giving me the sit rep for what's going on right now. That's what I'm saying. Like there needs to be. Yeah, you're right though. Like you said, it doesn't matter. Like if you're in for 3 years or 30, there needs to be forward progress on the TOTS, even at the FRG or whatever. Like they need to have a bulletin board. Like next to the career counselor bulletin board, they need to have like something that has like what they have for people if you choose to get out. It's okay if you don't sign up, but here's what we have to get out. They don't put all that stuff on Front Street like that. They want us in, essentially, the bigger, they have numbers, they have quota, you know what I mean? It's like, but like you said, there's always life after the military. And it's crazy to hear it from people that do like 30 years in. Like I did 8 years, you did probably like 8, 10 years. So it's like we're mid-career soldiers. Maybe we're not around those people, but for people like 30 years, or what about people that gets hurt when basic training, they just like get kicked to the curb. And I've heard it all, man. Heard it all. So what do you think helped you the most? Like besides those programs, like was it just planning on your part to like figure out, like make a plan? Like you said, okay, I know I want to be here and get a job around here. You can't just like think it's going to show up to your plate. You know what I mean? Like what was it for you besides those 2 programs that like kind of put you over the edge for success?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like it's just committing, right? Like when I was, sitting in that flight doc's office being asked if I wanted to fly F-15s because I got air sick, and I said yes. Like it's the same thing. Like once I, told the commander, put the paperwork in to get out, like I'm getting out and I'm going to make this work. So that kind of mindset and that approach, that's the way you have to look at it, is I'm not, I'm committed to this course of action. I'm not turning around. So that helps.
Yeah, mindset is everything, but you're right about that. So like, 2-part question: what's your software company about, and how do you want to help the 100 businesses in the next year?
Yeah, so it's called Wonder System, and it's an all-in-one sales and marketing platform. And really that came about because my brand has evolved over the years. So I got out in 2020, originally was focused on helping veterans. It was actually called Another Average Joe. And then I kind of shifted it to Not Another Average Joe, moved away from the veteran only space and more into personal development. I, was using this software on my own to kind of like manage my own stuff, looked into the coaching aspect of things, and then realized I actually like the software side more than the coaching aspect, and kind of pivoted again into the software. So really the goal is to, get the software out and allow, companies to use it, or it's really designed for like this, small business, solo entrepreneur that just needs like one piece of software, really one system that can like connect everything and just allow them to not to have all these different subscriptions and like connect everything together. And that's how I want to help.
So how can someone find you if they're interested in doing that?
Yeah, so just wondersystem.co is the website for that. Or just reach me on my personal or kind of my brand Instagram page is not underscore AVG underscore Joe. So Not Another Average Joe is kind of I run everything centrally through that. But
okay. How long you been going at that for?
So I started that Facebook page, or that Instagram page, in like 2020. But I just started the software sales beginning of this year.
How's it been going for you?
It's been going pretty good. Just slowly kind of gaining, a few clients here and there, really focusing on kind of building it out into like a software that people can take and, use for themselves, like working on like onboarding, processes and getting all that kind of stuff in place so that folks can really just hit the ground running with it.
Man, you got to get out to the Military Influencer Conference. It's like November 7th, I think, to the 10th in Las Vegas. But and they got like, should be good because you're going to be around, just another place to like network and stuff like that. And there's another one I can send you a link on. It's through IVMF, so it's like through Syracuse University Institute of Veterans and Military Families. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they have a program called like Veterans Edge, and it's like a networking event for entrepreneurs, man. It's like next year. I'll send you the link, but it's next year in Dallas. It's great, man. You get around people, exchange information, and you never know. Like, I don't know, like you could get government. They got people doing government contracts. They got, doing everything there, So it's just, I don't know if you ever heard of them, but I like to tell people about them that are in the same headspace. So, I don't know. You ever heard of them or no?
I've heard of IVMF. I hadn't heard of that part of it. I've done their like onward to opportunity thing for like the
Okay, yeah.
certifications and stuff when I was getting out.
How's
So,
that though? Talk about that real quick, because is that for like all like the IT stuff, or how's that go?
yeah, they've got a bunch of IT ones, but then they also have PMP. So I did the PMP one. I never ended up taking the exam, but I did all the training for it.
Nah, dude.
So yeah, it was definitely super helpful, and it
Like,
it's free.
yeah, absolutely, dude. And then that thing's like thousands of dollars if you go to like an academy or a school for it. They got another one called Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans, and like you should look into that one too, because you're an entrepreneur and you're doing your thing, and that's another thing. It's like a little crash course. You do a little bit of online portion, like 21 days, and then it's like 10 days in person, and then like follow on support and like just networking, and the connections they have, man, is amazing, dude. You know what I mean? So I always like to talk about them because I've had really nothing but good experiences with them, dude. Like seriously, it's like mostly they take care of you, and you're one person, you're one relationship away or one conversation away from taking your business to the next level. We all are, really. You never know,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So, oh man, that's
yeah.
good. What do you see yourself like? What do you see the biggest like choke points are for you in your business like right now?
Yeah, right now, I mean, I'm really in the stage of just like getting it known and getting it out there. Um, you know, I look at it and I say, okay, I spent a year using the software. I kind of have taken it, added more to it, created my own version essentially, and I'm less than a year into it, so I'm really early still. I tend to think in like longer time horizons. So, um, my goal is now to use it and like build, really just build in the foundation so that when it's like you said, when I have that connection or everything clicks and like the scaling happens, I don't want things to break. I want there to be like a solid foundation for getting new customers onboarded. I'm really much more product focused and experience focused than I am like the marketing side of things. Like, oh, quick, buy my thing. I'd rather
Yeah,
be
no.
good and like test it out with a few people. Get feedback, that kind of thing, and work in the partnerships and affiliates. That's another thing I'm doing right now that seems to be working pretty good. It's just building those relationships with folks like both online and locally. Getting involved in my local chamber of commerce and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, there you go. You're on the right track. How can I try to help you?
yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just spreading the word. Again, have me on the podcast is a great way to do that. That kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's for anyone just kind of starting out who is thinking about I want to sell something online, or I want to offer a service. Really, this isn't really for like e-commerce or physical goods, more in the service side of things. But if they're kind of just starting out, like this is a great place to start, because my idea that I've kind of told some other folks too is like, I want this to be literally like you need something to sell, this software and a Stripe account, and like you can sell, and that's kind of the how simple I want to make it for folks.
Gotcha. So not a clothing store or something like that, but you're maybe like services like plumber, electrician, stuff along those lines.
Yeah,
Maybe lawn care, stuff like that. All service industry related.
yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm more focused on like the online service businesses, but if there's local service businesses as well, I do work with the local like businesses through the chamber, and for those like my local community, I'm willing to do a little more in terms of like meeting with them in person, that kind of thing. Obviously, if you're
Okay.
if you're a plumber like halfway across the country, I'm not gonna like meet you in person to do this kind of thing.
No, my bad. My bad. I think I misspoke on that. So you want more or less the e-commerce people that are selling products or services online and to do it not physical, right?
Yeah, so more so
My
like
bad.
coaching, not necessarily e-commerce in the sense of like selling, shirts or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
but like service based, like I provide you with coaching and consulting. I make, courses on how to do things, that kind
Okay.
of,
Okay. There you go. There we
yeah.
go. All right. My bad. All right. That's fair enough. What's one thing that you miss about the military?
I miss like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase it. I miss like the camaraderie, which I think is probably the stereotypical answer, but it's like,
Yeah.
like when I was out there just flying with the bros, like that was great.
Flying with the bros, man. That must have been good, dude. They can't go wrong with flying with the bros, dude.
Yeah. I remember like one of my last flights, I was flying out we were flying out over the coast, and we were just like cloud surfing, like flying in between clouds and stuff. And I'm like, this is the stuff I'm going to miss, but everything else.
Or you don't miss the recall formations of the, oh yeah, all those fun days. So air liaison officer, you still flying though in the guard? You still doing anything?
No, that's a non-flying job. So I'm in. I try not to throw around a whole bunch of acronyms, but basically, I'm in a unit that is like the guys that call in the airstrikes, as opposed to the guys. I flew in the F-15 drop-in ordnance. Working with the guys that called in the airstrikes over the radio, and now I'm like supporting from the officer side the guys that do the airstrikes. So I'm not, running around, calling in airstrikes myself, but I'm managing and leading those guys.
When was your last flight?
2020 February. Yeah,
does it feel like a long time ago? Almost
not
3
really.
years. Not over 3. Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. Yeah.
Almost 4 years. Did you ever have to do F-15s? Excuse me, because I guess I'm not that proficient in the flight world. But do they actually land on aircraft carriers? Are they able to, or do they have to need a longer runway?
No, it's not something that we train to or do. We never landed on an aircraft carrier. That's a Navy thing.
So the Navy thing.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Oh, okay. Is it a McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle?
Yep.
Is that your old POV? That's your old assigned weapon, man. There it is. Can't go wrong. I had the 249. You got the jet. Damn, that's pretty sick though. Okay, so let me ask you this. If you could go back, what would you tell yourself? What do you wish your previous self would have known, or even anyone else that's going through the transition process? Like, what would be your pep talk to them to make sure you guys get all this stuff done before you get out? Whether it's from the get your disability claim started before you get out to, if you don't know what you're going to do, get your GI Bill going. Like, what would your pep talk to them be from what you know now?
Yeah, I would just say 2 things. Whatever time you think you need, like, to prep for whatever it is, just double it and then start then. So, like, if you're 1 year in and you think I'm getting out in a year or 2, and I need 6 months, just tell yourself you need a year. So, like, whatever you told yourself in your Marine, it's going to just give yourself twice as long. And then the other part of that, I would say, is, definitely document everything. I don't get too heavy into the VA side of things, but I didn't document a whole lot. This is kind of definitely I'll say an Air Force flyer issue that's kind of like Air Force wide. But to stay on flying status, people sometimes don't always talk about what's going on physically or whatever with them. So just document that stuff. Even if you have to go to like outside doctors and things, so that it's not a pain when you go to get out. And I've got issues with my neck and my knees, from pulling G's and all that kind of stuff. And like, it's not gonna get better the longer you fly. So just have that stuff documented. That's kind of my two pieces of advice, I would say.
Okay, appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people wouldn't want to, speak up on that because they could lose the privilege of flying. But I mean, what would you rather do? Fly and break your body? I mean, I'm sure it's great at the time, but like when you said, if you hurt yourself, then like enough is enough. Like, you don't want to go on and on about that. Just set yourself up for failure. Your body, man. People in the military know their body goes through, a good beating. So I'm sure pilots, you guys got a whole extra thing to worry about. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's good information to know and to just take action on if you can. It doesn't really matter what someone else thinks about you. Like, what about your family at home? What about your kids? What about, your life after the military? That's what we're talking about again. Like, there is life after the military. And although pilot's a good job and cool, you don't want to break yourself up over it. So appreciate you being honest with that. a lot of people like to downplay the mental health side, and I mean, I feel like we're doing each other a disservice. I think like it's a big stigma, but appreciate you sharing. Where do you see yourself going, like with your software company and like with what you got going on with the consulting and everything, like in the next couple of years? What are your goals for that?
Yeah, so I'd love to build it out. I said 100 in a year, which is I think aggressive. But yeah, I mean, I want that to kind of build into something where in the long term, it doesn't take all of my time. That's kind of why I'm doing it this way, is like I understand that, over a long enough time period, like if I just don't quit, I mean, that's kind of the theme, right, of entrepreneurship is
Yeah.
if you just find something and stick with it for long enough, the chances that you'll succeed go up drastically. I'm not saying you're going to succeed because we can't know that, but like if you just find something and stick with it for long enough, or you're willing to actually stick with it for long enough and not just jump around and do something different, then your chances are going to go up. And so that's the path I'm on. I'm committed to kind of growing this slowly, building that foundation like I talked about, and doing this for I'm talking in years at least, to kind of before I'm willing to see the payoff, if you will, in that sense. So everything that I get back, try to just reinvest into growing the company and building that experience and the service to be better.
Okay. So like coming, from entrepreneurship, like you said, like time's never right? So for you, like, did you ever feel like giving up when you first started going until you like got the ball rolling? Because it is tough, man. You're putting a lot of burden on yourself, but like after World War I, they said like the majority of entrepreneurs were actually military veterans. So like I'm not saying we're better than anybody, but like there's no one better to do it than a veteran, really, in my eyes. And, we've already been through so much stuff and been charged with so much. Like, why not work so hard for yourself too, just like you did on all those missions and all those flights? So it's like, props to you for doing that and making it happen. But in the early stages, did you feel like you wanted to stop?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. It's funny you say the early stages because I feel like I'm still in the early stages, but that's part of what I want to, start to have that conversation more about, like on my brand page and everything, is like documenting the journey, because I can't tell you what it's like to run a 7-figure business yet, because I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking from experience, and I'm not going to make up like flashy stuff for Instagram. So I'm just going to try to document my experiences and talk through but I can look back and say that I think my military experience has helped me the most, right? Like it took me, 2.5 years of training to have the opportunity to become the new guy in a fighter squadron, right? Like how many people are willing to wait 2.5 years to have the opportunity to start to do something? And so, it's that ability to just stick with something. And so when you ask me like in the early stages, do you feel like quitting? I mean, yes, right. But I'm still in the early, like I've not even done this for a year is the way I look at it. So I'm still in the early stages. And I just know that I'm not going to, as God willing, and the creek don't rise, right? I'm not going to. So that's just the way I look at it.
I guess once you get rolling though, when you put your mind to it, it's too easy not to turn it off. I guess for me in the podcast, it was more or less just turning the camera on and get going. But once you do that, then I think you're on. You just got to start. So just take that, even if it's that 1 or 2 days, to start doing something different, working towards your goal or your business. It's kind of hard to stop because think about how much like we worked for the military. How many times did you go above and beyond for the Call of Duty? And if we do the same thing and have that mindset for ourselves, we can take ourselves and our business, and our team to new heights. But let me ask you this. How do you feel about working as a solo entrepreneur and like coming from a team environment? How do you deal with the mental creep of, doing it by yourself at the moment?
So the way I kind of approach it is like, understanding that when you're kind of running a business by yourself, like you have to wear all the hats, you have to do all the things. But over time, your goal should be like, find the things a lot of people are like, oh, we'll work on your weaknesses. It's like, no, I want to work on my strengths and then use that to build the business. And then build a team eventually. Like I'm not there yet, but like the team should support my weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. You build a supporting cast or you
Yeah.
outsource it. Yeah, absolutely. Harvesting what you're great at. We're not. You can't be like what they say, jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like you can do a little bit of everything, but what do you do great? Well, I can do a little bit of everything. Yeah, you're right, though, man. Like I don't want to go out and cut my grass in my other house. I'm going to pay someone to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do with that 1 hour if you're working on your software? If you're posting ads, if you're doing, whatever your business is, you got to use your time wisely, man. Because it's one thing that's one thing we're never going to get back. So true indeed.
Yeah. That's an important mindset shift. Like it's as weird as it sounds, right? Like this year, I did actually pay someone to start mowing my grass for like really the first time, and it's like,
but it's worth it. You don't have to get out there every weekend.
Exactly.
Get out there and waste an hour or two. Like, I almost want to do it here, but the yard we have is so small. It only takes like 20 minutes, but still, I don't like doing it. You know what I mean? But yeah, like, I mean, think about it, man. If you had the money, would you pay someone to cook your food, or like, I don't know. It's like it is a mindset shift. If you try to do everything yourself, you're not going to get too far. Oh, I'm going to do everything myself. I mean, you could. I'm not saying it's not possible, but if you have a team, did you work in the military? Did you fly and shoot the weapons on the plane, or did you have you two pilots? There's two pilots. The same thing. You're not in the unit by yourself. We're not in the DFAC by ourselves. We're around a team, but I don't know, man. I guess for me, I'm still trying to get the right people around me to build out my own team and stuff like that. And I know it will come, but I feel like that's something I've struggled with kind of when I got the military, because here's the thing about the military. You get great relationships, great people in units you're in, and then everyone just starts dispersing. You know what I mean? Oh, you're going to Nevada, I'm in Florida, we only meet, and life happens. So I think it's like a double-edged sword, but with this podcast, getting the right people around and hearing people's stories, and everyone's like-minded, but we need a place to all connect and build each other up. You know what I mean? So I think there's more of that going on now in the military influencer space, and they, hopefully that we can, keep it going now, man, because like when you put yourself on the line for your battle buddies to your left and your right when you're deployed and stuff like that. And, as veterans, it's like people are dropping the ball. Maybe they wouldn't have done that if they had the resources. Maybe they wouldn't have done that if they knew people were there. But if you get out of the military and you go back to where you're from, where you try to get away from, in the sense, or you know what I mean, or you travel all the way cross country for a job, it doesn't work out, and you're stuck, or you know what I mean. Like a lot of stuff happens, and hopefully we can just help with whatever we can. So
yeah, I would say that's a good point, but the opposite of I think this time that we live in, of like, the way that the world is connected, that, you can have those resources, right? Like I live in a rural community, and, I'm still very connected with, through like the Veteranpreneur Tribe and other like, veterans that I found through like having my Instagram page and like having these conversations and that kind of thing. So that's definitely helped me the most.
You also have to put yourself out there too. Some people don't like to or I'm not going to meet nobody. I was probably like that too at a point when I first got out. Maybe I was good, but I had to work on myself personally. You know what I mean? If you don't fix yourself, I can't get on here and try to say my life is all over the place. Like I can't get on here and try to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do with their life. I'm just trying to share stories and share all the resources. But you're right though, like we're a fingertip away, dude. Veteranpreneur Tribe, people are out there willing to help. All you have to do is ask. Don't be scared to ask. No one's gonna disrespect you for asking. Hey, I'm getting out of the Army. I was thinking about these questions or whatever. Or hey, I got a podcast. I never met you before. No one, you signed up, probably saw the link, and we signed up and we made it happen, because that's what we do as vets. Like we're trying to help each other. And I just wish people that are probably like, they think they're all by themselves, but we're not. We just got to reach out, connect, so no, that's good, man. I'm glad that you're in those. That's where you found this podcast. I'm probably in the Veteranpreneur Tribe Facebook group.
Yep.
Well, there you go, dude. See?
So, yeah, I just saw it and reached out and got the sign up link, and here we are. I mean, to me, like, that's how I got started, honestly. Like when it was like the veteran transition page or whatever, I made a link, or not a LinkedIn. Yeah, I made a LinkedIn, I made an Instagram, and I was like, hey, I'm starting a brand. And I didn't have a website. I told people I was going to start writing blogs about this. I didn't have anything. Just put a date out there, forced myself into action. And it was the same with like the software stuff. I just, made social media, made a website, started posting about it, and was like, hey, I'm doing this now. And then, I got 2 clients in my first 30 days or whatever. And then just haven't stopped from there. So
can't go wrong, dude. You took yourself out of your comfort zone, and like you said, you took action. That's all you really got to keep doing, and just do it. It's a compound effect, and just keep doing it over and over and over, man. It's like you're right. Like most people, even in the podcast space, give up. I mean, I just started a couple of months ago, but I got like several episodes. I don't feel like giving up, man. It's not that hard to get on and coordinate. Like, how easy was it? Just a couple of clicks and you're on and trying to share people's stories and help. So, man, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories. And, it's great to hear from a pilot. I don't know, have I talked to any of the pilots? Maybe I talked to 1 or 2, but no, I probably haven't, honestly. I would have remembered. But, I just want to open it up and see if we left anything out or you want to leave us with anything, and then we'll go ahead and close it up for the day if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, this has been good. I mean, I would just say that like the theme that we've kind of talked about is just, whatever you're going to do, just, understand that like think about it on I would just say a longer time horizon, and don't think I need this right now. Obviously, I'm not talking about like you gotta provide shelter and everything, but I mean like when you're trying to build something, just think on a longer time horizon and work on that, delaying that gratification. Those have been the 2 biggest things that's helped me both in the military and then in what I'm still doing at the moment. So.
Okay, appreciate you sharing that. What was your favorite town hall in the Air Force or in the military? Anything that sticks out to you on all your endeavors?
Chow hall. Dafra DFAC was pretty good.
I heard that one was supposed to be good.
They had like a hibachi thing one night, and then they would have like steak. And so I'm going to get all the flack because of the Air Force guy eating steak on deployment. But yeah.
So. No, bro, we need that on deployment, man. That's all good, dude. The Air Force known to have the best facilities. That's no secret, dude. We know that the Air Force gets paid if you have to stay at an Army base. I know. It's like hazard. You get hazard pay to stay at an Army base, man. But no, it's all good, dude. You can't hate on the Air Force, dude. You know what I mean? Like, more love to everybody. But Aldara, they said it's supposed to be good. They had like a general there, dude. They're going to have good food. They can't be slouching. But man, well, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. Hope you have fun, and let's stay connected. I'll shoot you some links over there about the EBV and Veteran Edge, and I think you'd benefit from it. You're getting around like-minded people. You got something good going on, a whole bunch of entrepreneurs, and you got software. So hopefully that helps you out, and let's stay connected, dude.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem. Hey, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys reached this far, hopefully you guys liked the episode and gained some value out of the content. Until next time, hope to talk to you guys soon. Take care.